Welcome to episode 22 of Little Bobbins Knits. My name is Dani and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Little Bobbins. We have a Ravelry group which you can find by searching Little Bobbins Knits in the groups tab on Ravelry, and show notes for the podcast can be found at littlebobbins.co.uk. I don't know why that just sounded so wrong in my head, but it did. Anyway, so thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you coming back if you've watched an episode before, and if you've just found the podcast, then welcome. It's lovely to have you too. So I decided to record in my bedroom again because it worked okay last time, I thought, and I cause havoc when I record in my sewing room. Stuff gets moved and it just looks like a bomb site after I finished. But in here it didn't seem to have that effect. It was all reasonably easy to tidy up and no furniture has to get moved and stuff, so I thought I would film in here again. It does mean that we might not see Bobbin. He's over on the corner of the bed sleeping, ready to bark out of the window if anyone comes past. On Mondays, a walking group walks from, there's a little community centre just 100 yards that way, and a group of people meet there to go and walk on the common. We have a common and lots of woods and things about 200 yards that way, so they walk past the house every Monday morning, and there's lots of chattering sounds and people walking their dogs, and Bobbin likes to be somewhere where he can tell them all off for doing that, because he's extremely antisocial. So yeah, he's in his place. Bobbin, you'll have to come and say hello in a minute, yeah? Okay, he's just working right now. So, today I've got some works in progress, some finished objects, some spinning, some lovely things. I had a question in the what do you want to see on the podcast thread about my favourite notions, so I'll show you those, and we'll talk a bit about the cup cosy swap, which is so exciting, and lots of you have signed up, which I'm really thrilled about. I need to put my name in the thread actually, because I'm really looking forward to it. So, works in progress. Now, I'm feeling a little bit unfocused with my knitting at the moment. I don't know what it is. I like having lots of projects on the go, but sometimes they can feel a bit overwhelming, and I find. And when you have lots of projects, you don't necessarily see much progress being made on individual ones, and so I'm feeling a bit unfocused. Nothing is really not inspiring me. I can't explain it. Like, nothing is... how to explain it? I'm enjoying everything I'm knitting, but nothing is sparking a real excitement. Like, the things that I'm knitting are really exciting and I'm really enjoying them. But I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I'm just feeling a bit unfocused with everything, and there are things that I would like to knit, but I feel like I need to finish some things first, and... oh, ow, oh, ow. There's something sharp in my sleeve. Hang on a second, that's peculiar. Strange. Anyway, let's all pretend that didn't happen and get back to the works in progress. So, I don't know what's going on in my head at the moment. I think I'm just feeling a bit unfocused generally, and it's sort of going into my knitting as well. I just want to knit a lot of things and there just isn't the time. So, do you think I might overthink things? I think I might overthink things. So, this first work in progress I'm really enjoying. This is for a pair of rainbow socks for Mum. This is the Rainbows and Clouds yarn from Felt Fusion on Etsy. and it's so fun. There's silver sparkle in there, and these are really, really enjoyable. The pattern is the Atlantic Current socks by Melissa Sibley, and it was very, very generously given to me by Melinda of the Yarn Woman podcast. So thank you so much, Melinda. I'm really enjoying this pattern. And this is how the socks are coming out. I love them. Now, I am doing it slightly different to the pattern because the pattern had a different rib pattern happening. But I initially thought that I was going to do the Hermione's Everyday socks. So I did a 2x2 rib. I don't actually know if that's in the Hermione's Everyday socks. It might be a 1x1 rib. But whatever happened, I was planning on doing the Hermione's Everyday socks and did a 2x2 rib for some reason. And I got to the rib, the end of the rib, and was about to start the Hermione's Everyday socks pattern, and this pattern just popped into my head, and I thought, how fun would that look in this yarn? And it really does. I love the different length stitches and how they're one colour, and the sort of juxtaposition of those long stitches against the shorter stitches. I just think they're really, really, really fun. Exciting. So these have had a lot of my knitting time, really, because they've been fun, interesting and exciting with those little pops of colour. Really, really simple to memorise, so no patterns needed or anything. And they're just really, really enjoyable. So I've got that one, and this one is a little bit shorter. I was knitting away on this one and realised I really should cast on the other one because I do prefer to be knitting them concurrently. I just love the colours in this yarn, and it's really, the pattern's really making the most of those colours, I think. So really fun. I've got my little progress keeper from a homespun house, and I don't really use these to mark my progress necessarily. I use them as a sort of tactile reminder that it's the end of the round, so I might need to start doing something different, because I think if you knit quite a lot of vanilla socks, it's quite easy to just keep going round and round. You just get to your needle junction. Words apparently are eluding me today, but you get to the bit where you change needles and it's quite easy to pick up the next needle and just knit plain. So these markers sort of remind me that perhaps I might have to do something else when I get to it, and it seems to work really well. And it's a lovely, lovely pattern to do while you're watching a film or something like that. So I'm really, really enjoying those. Thank you so much for the pattern, Melinda. So that's work in progress 1. It's in my cute little house bag. My second work in progress, in my fat squirrel bag with my homespun house brooch, is the water lily. And did I say I was knitting those on 2.25 high sharps? I'm not sure if I did, but I am. And the pattern is written for 2.75mm needles, but I tend to always use 2.25, and it's using the same stitch count as I would usually use on those needles, so I just switched. And they seem to be coming out the right size. I really am unfocused, aren't I? Let's have a sip of coffee, see if that jogs my brain into life. I'm channeling Molly today with a little teacup. Sweet little teacup and saucer, but there's coffee in it. Vanilla coffee. That's very nice. So, is my water lily. It's growing. I think if I were to knit the pattern as... I think if I were to knit as the pattern says, I would be able to start the lace now, but because I want it a couple of inches longer, I think I've got about 1.5 inches to go. That really folds up annoyingly. But yes, this is Water Lily by Megan Fernandez. And I'm knitting it in the Drops alpaca silk, baby alpaca silk, in this lovely sage green colour, which comes out as blue everywhere. But yeah, it doesn't look very different from the last time, I don't think. It just might look a bit longer. Yeah, and Mum's knit a few rows on this for me as well, which was good. She was over on Saturday night for a little Mother's Day dinner, and she bought a quilt that she was working on, and she'd sewn on lots of the bindings, so I sewed on some of the binding for her and she knit a few rows on this, so it was sort of like a menial tasks skills share, so we could both do something different for a little while. So that was good. I love sewing on quilt bindings. I find that really fun. And Mum likes just knitting round and round, so perfect swap. So, they're my works in progress. I've got my Susu jumper that's waiting to be knit, and for some reason, even though I really enjoy that when I'm actually knitting it, it's not one that I pick up, and I think it's because it requires a little bit of brain activity. So although it's very... you get in the rhythm of it and don't need to look at the pattern necessarily, you can just look at the row below. Just it requiring that little bit of brain is meaning that I'm not picking it up. And that makes me sad because I'd like that jumper. So perhaps I should make a concerted effort to pick that up this week. Yeah, that's a project that I'm missing, I think. Missing working on. Even if I just did a couple of rows each night, there would be progress made, wouldn't there? So I think I need to try doing that. So, finished objects. Now, I have been knitting a little present for a friend, and it's a newborn vertebrae by Kelly Brooker. And it's so tiny and cute. Oh, it's adorable. So I've knit this in superwash merino and nylon from the Wool Barn. It's the speckled yarn that Maya is so good at. I just think it looks so cute. So yeah, it's tiny and cute. I think I knit this on 2.75mm needles. I just knit it as the pattern said. I think I knit it a bit longer, but that wasn't intentionally, that was just because it was growing faster than I anticipated. But yeah, it's all done, all blocked, and very, very cute. So I'll send that off this week. And I also knit a pair of tube socks for kids by Jane Richmond, because I thought it would be fun if the baby's older sister had some little matching socks in the same yarn. So that's why I did them. And they're so tiny. So they were fun. I knit the tube socks on 2.75mm high sharps, fixed circulars as well. So yes, I like those. And the Wool Barn yarn is just lovely, lovely to knit with and make such a lovely finished object, so really enjoyed that. And my next finished object, oh, it's Bon Bon by Susan Claudino. Oh, so cute. although this one's called Sparkles the Magic Bunny because the yarn is very sparkly. And David named him. And that apparently was appropriate for him. So, very cute. I really love him. I gave him to Mum for Mother's Day. And as with a few gifts that I give her now, I have to take them back so that I can show you. So she'll get it back very soon. But it was a lovely pattern. Susan Claudino's patterns are so user-friendly. They sort of take the chance out of toys, because sometimes it can be really challenging to get the limbs on in the right place and get the face on right, and doing those things slightly differently from the pattern can make a completely different looking toy. So I really enjoy Susan Claudino's patterns because there's no question about where you put the legs and the arms and the ears. It's just set out so clearly for you in the pattern. You just can't go wrong, really. And yeah, you just get a really, really cute toy. It's its little tail. Oh, so sweet. I love its giant feet. So yeah, that's done. That's out of my hand spun yarn with Regia Angora Merino held doubled for the tail. So sweet. So yes, my eyes arrived and Bonbon got to have a face. Very cute. I'm going to miss that one. I'd quite like to keep that one, but that's not allowed. So yeah, cute. And I might get another one of those because it was really fun to do. Just have another sip of coffee. So they're my finished objects. On to spinning. I finished my 3-ply sock yarn. That came out quite well. I'm quite pleased with it. It's quite interesting. I always find it really interesting with hand spun how different the finished yarn looks from the braid, because the braid was much brighter. The pinks were very vivid and there were some white spots, and yeah, it just looked much brighter. But the colours are really sort of muted in the scheme. They're almost vintagey colours. I love the little spots of brown, and yeah, I think it's really pretty. And I love the barber poling. That seemed to work out quite well. We'll see how it works out when I actually knit the socks, because I think there were sections where I was just applying blues together a couple of times. There might be a few stripes through. But yeah, that's finished. And I think I got 260 metres, which would be enough to knit a pair of socks for me. Bobbin snoring. Which would be enough to knit a pair of socks for me, but because it might be a bit tight, I've decided to knit them toe up. And I thought I would use this as the toes and heels. I thought they looked really nice together. This is 5 Moons Lunar Plus 4-ply in the vintage colours, and this colour is Glacial Melt. So 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. Using this for the toes and the heels will also help with the longevity of the socks, I think. 5 Moons yarns smell really nice. I don't know if you've ever smelt them, but they smell good. But yes, they will help with the longevity of the socks because it's got nylon in, and this hasn't. This is just superwash merino. And if I got more yardage, I wouldn't have cared about that, because I don't need my socks to outlive me. So I just want to get the pleasure of knitting them and wearing them, and if they get holes, I'll darn them. But that will help keep them working longer without having to darn them, because having that bit of nylon in the heel will keep it stronger. So I'm really looking forward to casting them on, but I'm feeling like I shouldn't cast them on yet because I've got quite a lot of projects on the go. Usually that wouldn't stop me, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on at the moment. But yeah, I think those colours will look really nice together. So that's spinning. So before I go on to lovely things, I might grab little Bobbin for a little cuddle because he's being extremely antisocial. Bobbin, come over here for a little cuddle. Opening his eyes to see if it's worth coming over. What do you think? Come over for a cuddle. Come here. I got him. Have you got your teeth out, Bobbin? Have you? I think he's got his teeth out. Oh, I love his teeth. No, he just wants to go back to sleep. He's quite... You're not impressed by this, are you? No. He's doing his slightly louder than necessary breathing. What's happening with your lips? You've got sleepy lips. He does his slightly louder than necessary breathing when he's a bit annoyed about the situation that he's found himself in. Just want to go back to sleep, don't you? He was a naughty dog yesterday. We have to be so careful with food because he will eat anything he finds. And David had got a biscuit out. It was not a... It didn't have chocolate on it or anything. It was just a biscuit, plain biscuit. But he still shouldn't have eaten it, obviously. And David left it on the table in the living room. Then went upstairs for some reason. I was upstairs. And he said to me... Or then he realised that I was also upstairs. And had to scuttle downstairs very, very quickly to retrieve his biscuit from Bobbin's mouth. Half of it had already gone, and I get so paranoid when he eats anything that he shouldn't because he's extremely precious and delicate and he's only little, so eating things he shouldn't, it's just not good. But if he finds something that he shouldn't be eating, he just devours it in seconds. So, yeah, he looked absolutely thrilled with himself afterwards. But yeah, we have to just be so careful, and usually we are. But this time, you managed to caught a break, didn't you, Bobbin? Caught a break from our lack of thinking. But he seems fine. It's not, I'm just relieved that it was just quite a plain biscuit. My other dog, he was the most wonderful dog. He was extremely well behaved. You could leave your food on the floor and he wouldn't touch it because he knew it was yours. He was just wonderful. He was, yeah. So it was quite a reality check when we got Bobbin because he's completely opposite. He will take advantage of any mistake that you make. Leaving food too close to the edge of something, he will be there, he will get it. And he's a chancer. Whereas Brewski was just, he knew that was your food, not his, so he didn't try and take it. He was perfect. But yeah, Bobbin likes stealing. I think he thinks food tastes even better if it's stolen, don't you? Or, because you're cheeky. And he looks so innocent on the podcast, doesn't he? Butter just wouldn't melt. But actually, he's very, very cheeky. Anyway, enough dog kissing. Let's go on to lovely things. So, in the midst of my spinning obsession of last week, I also ordered some fibre from Hilltop Cloud. My sparkly BFL hasn't arrived yet, so hopefully that will come very soon. It was coming from Germany, so I'm hoping that will come soon because I'm excited about that. But maybe today. But before I ordered that, I ordered this from Hilltop Cloud. I'm on the mailing list for Hilltop Cloud, and in her newsletter, I think it was last Sunday, she mentioned that she had this merino fibre, and I was really taken by the romantic story behind it, I suppose. It's the merino sheep who make this fibre live in the south of France, and the people who shepherd the sheep shepherd them in a really traditional way, and they sort of sleep out with the sheep and things like that. So I just thought that was lovely story, and I just really enjoyed that. So I wanted some of those sheep's wool, and the fibre from the sheep is then sorted and it's processed into this preparation at the John Arbon mill, which is in Devon. So a reasonably local type happening. Word's gone. So yeah, I got some of this, and it's merino, but it's not, it's different to this, I think, because this was a superwash merino. It's not as slippery. It's a really, really lovely fibre. The colour, bobbins off. Where are you going? It's had enough. The colour is very different from how it looked on the screen. There was a lot more light colours. I think these are the undyed spots, and I love undyed spots in fibre because they really lift your yarn, I think. I really enjoy those bits. I really enjoy white bits in fibre as well, because I think it just gives a sort of lightness and interest to your finished yarn. So yeah, they're the natural bits, but they were a lot lighter in the photo, and there were a lot more of them. And the colours, like the pinks, were a lot more vibrant than they actually are in the braid. But that's just the hazard of buying online, really, isn't it? You can only be... You have to sort of take those pictures as a rough indication of what the colour will be like, not as a exact description, if that makes sense. So I think it would be really fun to spin. I'm thinking I'd quite like to spin it, try and spin it reasonably thick and knit it into a hat. I think that would be really lovely. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not very good at spinning thick. But I did just buy the JC Boggs Faulkner class on Craftsy, spinning from woolen to worsted. I heard Isabel from the Fluffy Fibres podcast talking about it, and I think it was on sale or something, so I bought it. And it's just brilliant. It's really interesting, and I mean, I've been spinning a while, but don't profess to know a fraction of what there is to know about spinning. And I learned something in probably the first 10 minutes of watching the videos that was a real sort of, click moment, you know? So yeah, I highly recommend that class. I was only watching it, like, I wasn't working alongside it, I was just watching it to see what it was like, and she recommends that you spin with her from woolen to worsted. No, worsted to woolen. Yeah, that way around. She recommends that you spin along with her, because doing the separate classes, build into each other. So if you do it in order with her, then when you get to spinning woolen, which lots of people can find challenging, those classes that you've done before have sort of built up your knowledge so that spinning woolen is easier and comes more easily, because you've had those sort of building blocks of the previous classes. So yeah, I'm going to hopefully use that as a helper to vary my spinning styles, because usually I just spin worsted really, and it tends to suit the projects that I spin for, but I would like more variation just to keep things interesting really. So yeah, there's that. I also ordered this. I love the crinkliness of this bag. I'll try and keep it as quiet as possible. This is a gradient pack, and it's got Shetland, Seacell and Merino. And aren't those colours so pretty? I just really loved the colours. I thought they looked really fun, and I'd quite like to practice chain plying. It's not something that I use a lot now. I did really enjoy chain plying, but at the moment I just seem to be doing regular 2-ply, or like this one 3-ply off the separate bobbins. So yeah, I wanted to practice some chain plying, and I thought a gradient would be a really good place to do that, and I could easily have used something that I had in my stash, but it seemed like a good enough excuse to try something that I didn't have in my stash, so that will be fun to do. I'm quite looking forward to that. I might do a couple of little chain plied practice bits first, but we'll see. Going back to this, I don't know if you remember, but I said that I split the braid in a really haphazard fashion, didn't weigh anything. But luckily there wasn't too much left over on my bobbins. One of them had hardly anything, and the other one had about a couple of grams, so I was really thrilled about that. It probably wouldn't have worked out so well if I had measured it, so that was just a fluke. But on that tiny little leftover bit, I might practice chain plying on that, because that might be quite fun. The order from Hilltop Cloud also came with a little sample, and it's a sample of the valleys, and it's a merino, Shetland, alpaca and silk blend. It's very dark. I don't think you'll be able to see. It's just browns, and then you can see there's a white flash of the silk running through there. So that will be fun. I'll put that in my little bowl with my fuzzlings and spin that up at some point. Oh, more lovely things. So, if you've watched before, you'll know that I love sock blanks. And I was looking on Instagram. This is how all of the stories that end up with me spending money happen, isn't it? I was looking on Instagram, and I saw that Countess Ablaze had been dyeing some sock blanks, and they looked incredible. They just looked so much fun. So I couldn't focus on anything that day because I needed to catch the update and get a couple of these sock blanks. I only intended to get one actually, but I couldn't choose between them, so I got these two. Don't they look so fun? Oh, they've got sparkle in. They're on her Viscount of Spark base. These are what a sock blank should be like, because they've got all of the interesting splodgy bits that are just going to knit up in such a fun way. I'm really excited about this. This one is the Picking Up the Pieces colourway. Oh, amazing. I haven't actually opened them up yet. Oh my goodness. But these are just going to be the most fun to knit. I can't even contain myself, actually. They make my other sock blank socks look so tame because I'm just sort of waiting for this sort of central bit of my other sock blank where it's got a bit of interest happening, but this is like, wow. There's stuff happening everywhere and it's just going to be the most fun to knit. So I'm ridiculously excited about these. It is going to be quite difficult to finish my other sock blank socks now when this excitingness is available to be knit. But yeah, I'm desperate to cast those on, but I'm trying to get a couple of things finished. Do you find that? I don't know how you do projects, whether you have lots on the go at a time or just do one at a time, but do you find that you sometimes get a bit overwhelmed by having too many at the same time? When sometimes the exact same amount is absolutely fine and really sort of fires your interest and is great because there are different things to knit depending on your different moods. I'd be interested to hear whether you have the same thoughts happening. And then this one is a one of a kind colourway, although there were 5. And I think that Daniela from Caffeinated Knitting, I think we got the same sock blanks, which I think is so funny. So exciting. And that one looks like this. Look at that. Ooh, that is going to be so much fun. And then it's got that up here. And then some darker splodgy bits through the middle. Really, really exciting. So I can't remember what I was just saying, but the front door just went, so we had to go and investigate, didn't we, Bobbin? So yeah, I can't quite remember what I was just saying, but it was probably about this. And yeah, very, very exciting. So I'm looking forward to those. It's my first time buying from Countess Ablaze. Kim, who's Squimbalina, sent me some minis of Countess Ablaze when we did a mini swap, so I was very excited to be able to try some of her yarns then. This is my first time buying some and I'm so thrilled with it. Look at that. So fun. So yes, I'll sort that out in a minute. Hi baby. So they're my lovely things. Now, SHPGR 1977 asked about my favourite notions and my needles and things, so I thought I would show you some of those today. Now, I love notions and tools and all of the things that make knitting more fun and pleasant. I love gadgets and bits and bobs that, yeah, just make it more fun. So I've got quite a lot of notions and quite a lot of needles, but I just thought I'd show the ones that I'm using most at the moment. So, as for needles, I have sets of the higher interchangeables, higher sharps. I also have the Chiaogu red lace, which are the metal ones with the red cable, and I have the Chiaogu twist, which are the bamboo needles, so they're the ones that I use most. But I've started thinking that I would really like to collect a set of higher sharps fixed circulars, because I love higher. They're just my favourite needles to use. They're so... If you've watched before, you've probably got bored of me saying how much I love higher sharps. So I'm never sure which sizes I've got because my needles were quite disorganised. I just had them in a bag. And I had separate bags inside that where I would put 2 and 2.5 millimeter, no, 2 and 2.25 millimeters in one, 2.5 and 2.75s in another bag, because they're needles, those two, or those 4 sizes are ones that I have lots of needles in. And then, excuse me, and then I would have 3 millimeter upwards in another bag. But that wasn't organised at all. So I decided to have a go making a little needle case. I just really fancied having a go on Friday night. And this is what I came up with. And I'm really pleased with it, actually, considering I didn't really know what I had in mind. I just sort of picked out some fabrics and went with it. So there's a little ribbon tie, and then it opens up to some little slots, and then this folds down to keep them all inside. And I've got 9 slots in here, so it can go from 2 millimeter to 4 millimeter. And it's really, really handy, and it meant that I found all of my needles. And I now know which ones I have and which ones I don't. So the only needles, my 3.75s are in my water lily. So the only needles I'm actually missing are 3.5 and 4 millimeter. So that's good, because I nearly bought an extra one of another size because I didn't think I had it. So that was really fun to make. I've used a sort of linen-y fabric, and yeah, little slots. So that was fun. Hi, Bobbin. How do I do it? Oh, around that way. So it just closes like that. Pull the little ribbon through. I used this sweet fabric because I didn't know if it was going to be a disaster, so I wanted to use fabric that I liked, but in case it did work, but wasn't one of my really, really precious pieces that I'd be sad if I ruined. And it's got padding inside, so that it keeps them all nice and secure. So I was really pleased with that, and it was really fun to make. So I need to make one now for my DPNs. But I've got to think about that, because for DPNs I've got a couple of sets of the 2s, 2.25s, 2.5 millimeter. So I need to work out how to get them organised. So yeah, I'll give that some thought. But yeah, that's my new little needle case, which I love and was really fun to make. I might make a couple for my shop as well. I thought that might be quite fun. So yes. And my notions I keep in this upside down birds. It's a little clasp bag. It's a wash bag, or a makeup bag I got from Marks and Spencer's, and I just thought it would be really cute for notions. I have other little notions bags as well that I will use in specific project bags. So like in with my Susu, that's got a tape measure and the cable needle and some stitch markers, and can't remember if there's anything else, some scissors in the bag with it, so it's just like a condensed notions pouch. So yeah, but in this one I have it all filled up. Oh, there's a mirror. Oops, and there's a tape measure. So it's all filled up with bits and bobs. Let me see if I can show you. I don't know if I'll be able to show you properly without everything falling out. So it's, yeah, packed full of stuff. And in here I've got a row counter. This is a lockable one, so I quite like that one. A tape measure, and I have loads of tape measures. I just love tape measures. You can never have enough tape measures, I don't think, because they're one of the things that I always lose and then end up finding when I buy a new one, but it's like that with most things. My scissors. I love these scissors, they're really nice and sharp. I have a little needle gauge, sizey, what's it, which is handy. I have some cute little hearts stitch markers from Fripperies and Bibelots on Etsy. I love the stitch markers from that shop, they're so great. Washi tape for just in case. This little tin, unicorn tin, has all my other stitch markers, so I have some of the clover locking stitch markers, little dangly ones, it's a croissant. These lovely stitch markers from the Wool Barn, I love those, I think they're so pretty. And then lots of the ring markers from Fripperies and Bibelots that I keep on a little book ring that I just got from Staples. I just thought that was a really handy little thing to keep my stitch markers on, so it just opens up and you can slide them off. Keeps them all together. Although, if you can see the bottom of my little tin, you can tell I don't put them all back on straight away because there are a few rogue ones, and a little football. And these ones are great. These are also from Fripperies and Bibelots, but they were from Pearlescence, the shop in. They've got an online shop and they're based in Oxford, which isn't too far away. They have a factory, not a factory, what's that word? A warehouse shop. So they don't actually have a shop, but they sometimes open their warehouse shop for you to go and have a look at their stock. And I got these little stitch markers from there. They're called Pearl Drops, and they're by Fripperies and Bibelots specifically for that shop. And they're so great because they've got tiny, tiny little rings. It's just an awful way of showing you. I just can't think of how to do it better. But they're the perfect size for socks. So I really love those. They're really nice. Yeah, and I have a few other little random stitch markers in there. I have my chibi needles from Clover. And that's got my darning needles in. So the big ones with the angled bottom and also the plain silver ones. That's the size that I use most. I've also got some straight chibis, I don't know where they are. In one of my other bags, I imagine. I've also got some hand cream, cherry blossom hand cream from L'Occitane, and a hand sanitising gel in the vervain scent, which is really yummy. It's a verbena, lemony goodness, so that's lovely. I've also got this little row counter, which is one that you wear on your thumb or your finger, and you can just press the little button. But I only use this for if I'm knitting a short project or one that I only have to count a few rows, like on this for example. You do shaping and then, I don't know, I can't quite remember, but you'd knit 9 rounds or something. And so I would use it for that situation. I wouldn't use it for, say, a jumper where I have to count my rows and then put it away for a while, because I wouldn't trust that it would keep the right number. Or when I turned it on again, I wouldn't trust that I wouldn't have moved it on a row, if that makes sense. So yeah, just little I just use that for little things. Also got a little crochet hook for if I need to pick up stitches and things. A lip balm and my little digital scales. I love these. I don't know that they necessarily need to be in my everyday notions bag because I only really use them for making mini skeins. I suppose I check how much yarn I've got if I'm using a small amount to knit. Say when I knit the heels on David's socks, for example, I was using a mini skein, so I knit one and had to make sure that I would have enough to knit the other one, so I'd use it for things like that as well. So yes, it does need to be in my everyday notions bag, I think. But yeah, that's everything that's in there. That's all the bits that I use all the time. But I couldn't say my favourite notions without mentioning this. This is my circa counter, and I love this counter so much. It's so useful. It's that one where you've got the different like hands to point out different numbers, and then you move the different counters. So at the moment this is set up for my campsite shawl. So this will mean that I have to do two repeats of a 16 row pattern, and then when I've done that I have to knit another 4 rows. So that's how I've set that up. So it's just really, really useful. I absolutely love it because usually I would have to use a row counter, then on paper I would write how many repeats I'd done, but with this it's just all in the same place and I love it. And these won't move unless you move them, and neither will these, so it's just a fantastic tool. I really, that's probably my favourite tool. And yeah, I got the little bento box for it to keep safe in, because I didn't want any of the arms to get pulled off or bent or anything, and they probably wouldn't because I'm quite careful with stuff, but just in case. And I think it's cute. So yeah, they're my favourite notions and needles. So thank you so much for asking about that, and yeah, do feel free to add other questions in the what do you want to see on the podcast thread, because they're really, really helpful to me because they help me know what you would like to see, and that feedback's great because otherwise I just talk about stuff and I'm never sure whether it's interesting. So, oh, he's got his teeth out. I wonder if I can show you. Oh, let's see. Oh, he's got his teeth out. Oh, so cute. Very, very unimpressed that I just did that. I would love to see your favourite notions if you'd like to include them in the episode thread. That would be really, really interesting, because I just love bits and bobs. They're so fun. So if you'd like to share your notions bag and what you keep in there, I'd love that. Or if you'd like to share how you store your needles, that would be so interesting. And I think it would be interesting for lots of people because organisation for things like that it's an ongoing project for lots of people, including me. So yeah, if you've got any tips or you'd like to just share your favourite tools and notions, then please do in the episode thread because I'd love to see them. Yeah. So the last thing is the cup cozy swap, which is just brilliant. Lots of you have signed up, which I'm so excited about. The sign-ups continue until the 18th, so the 18th of March. So sign up before then, just with your name in the thread, and let us know whether you are willing to ship internationally and whether you have any allergies that your partner should know about. And then after the 18th, the lovely Seashore Sharon, who is helping me organise this swap, which I appreciate greatly, So Sharon and I will take your names and pair you up, and then we'll put your names at the top of the thread with your partner so that you can swap your addresses. And we were thinking if you could get your package sent out by the end of the month, that would be really lovely. And because you'll be sending to your partner, your packages will both have the same distance to travel, so hopefully they'll sort of take the same amount of time to get to each of you. But yeah, so the requirements for the swap are to send a handmade cup cosy to your partner, and if you would like to include a postcard or a photo from your area and your favourite tea bag or something like that, then that would be lovely too. But yeah, it'll be so fun, and I'm very excited to join in, so I do need to go and put my name down because I think it would be really, really fun. So do come and join in with that if you would like to. So I think that's everything for today. I really enjoyed chatting with you. Do come and let me know your favourite notions and needles in the thread. And I'd be really interested to know whether you get the whip overwhelm like I'm currently experiencing. I need to catch up on my Ravelry messages and in the boards, so I'll be doing that today. It's a hazard of my overthinking things. I like to reply to people's Ravelry messages on my computer, not on my iPad, because I just feel like it's a more proper... Oh, it's so stupid. I just feel like it's a more proper response. I just can't focus my mind when I'm just replying on an iPad. It just feels too flippant. But because I don't get my computer out too often, it means that I get a bit behind. So I'm hoping to catch up there and maybe stop thinking that a reply on an iPad is any different to a reply on the computer, because they're the same words. Anyway, crazy thoughts. So thank you so much for watching today, and thank you so much for getting in touch. I always really love hearing from you, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.